Let's look at your textbook for Word. Page at the very beginning, the file management section is which you completed last week. And then we're going to look at the tutorials for Word, and there are 10 tutorials here. A tutorial is the same thing as a chapter. This is the way the textbook publisher wanted to call the chapters tutorials, so that's what they're called them. The first one is titled Creating and Editing a Word Document, Writing a Business Letter, and Formatting a Flyer, WD1. So I'm going to jump to Word Tutorials, and Tutorial 1, Creating and Editing a Document. The objectives are listed on the left. This particular chapter or tutorial is divided into two sections, Session 1.1 and Session 1.2. Be sure you go all the way to the end of both sessions. These are the starting data files that are needed, that are provided for you. In Word 1, in the tutorial folder, PetDocX and Poodle JPG, which is an image file, are already in the folder that you extracted earlier in the week. There's a session visual overview that tells you the parts of the window here. Be sure you don't skip these. Sometimes these pages give you a screenshot of what your finished document should look like. You have a lot of definitions, where things are located. Don't skip it. So starting where it says click the Word 2013 tile. I'm going to my shortcuts here. 2013. I have 2016 here. This is called the backstage. I'm creating a blank document. It tells us in the textbook to, let me find it again. There's your first page. Blank document, you did that. You need to read all of this information. I'm just getting through it quickly. I want to talk to you about setting up your Word window. It says verify that the non-character printing characters are displayed. This is a non-printing character. This is the show hide button. You want to have that depressed. If you click it, it goes away. They do not print. It just shows you your paragraph markings. It tells you to save this first document, and it tells you to save it as Robin's letter. So this is that next page. I'm going back here. I'm going to the Save button. I'm going to save it on my computer. If I need to browse to a place, I want to go to my Word data files. This is what I recently downloaded and extracted into the Enhanced folder. This is the location of the file management tutorial files. Word 1 is where you will click Next. And then it says to go into the tutorial folder. The tutorial folder are the white pages of every chapter. And we're saving it as Robin's letter. Click Save. Now, in the textbook, it tells us to type, so turn your textbook to the same page, go to WD9, and they're showing you a completed block style letter, and they're showing the parts of the letter. Be sure you understand that. You're responsible for knowing that. And then it says we're going to start entering text. So they want us to type in the date February, and once you begin to type it where it says, oh, you must mean February, you press enter and it finishes it for you. And type 15 and 2016 for the date. Now, we are in what's called normal view here, and normal view has some default settings for the paragraphs. I want to show you where those default settings are now. The normal view for paragraphs, and the settings are that in the paragraph vertically, the spacing before in each line or paragraph will have 0.5 points before, but 8 points after. The line spacing is set at multiple 1.08. If yours does not show that, I highly recommend that you change it now by clicking on line spacing, multiple, and then type in 1. I believe it was 08. Was that correct? 1.08. Let me make sure that's correct. 1.08, yes, which allows a little more spacing between the lines for easier reading. And set it as your default. And then click OK. I'm going to cancel. So that when you press enter, notice you have that extra spacing between that date line and the remainder of the document. It should look like page WD11. Now, when you and I were younger, maybe, and some of you not younger, but some of us actually learned how to type on a typewriter or an older version of Word or a different word processor. And the format that was used then was called no spacing. So if I click no spacing and then I press enter, notice it just brings me down one line. If you have changed the settings in your version of Word to look like this, please go back to normal, go back up, make sure you're in normal, and adjust your paragraph settings to before 0, after 8 points, line spacing multiple at 1.08, and set that as your default, so that as you work through the problems, your pages will look like what you see in your textbook. And here's inserting the date that we did. And then they talk about beginning to type the following items. So this was continuing to type the block style letter. You want your document to look like this. Now don't panic. That is not the format of a business letter. If you will look to page WD18, that is where they talk about adjusting paragraph and line spacing. And that's where you begin to make your letter look more professional and as a standard block format style. So it will tell you how to adjust the setting, and they do tell you that you can use several methods of adjusting the line spacing, because you can adjust line spacing here in the paragraph group where it says line spacing options, and it brings you back to that same box. There are many ways to do the same task. After you finish typing this letter and you save it, you are going to complete the rubric that you'll find back under week 2, and then you're going to go to the next pages, which is WD30. You have a second document to type. So I'm going to go to File here and Close, and you would save your work. The next assignment is you're going to use the pet document, and you're going to use the poodle image. And so on page WD32, go to 32. Opening an existing document. That is what your page WD32 should look like. And it says for you to go to the File tab and open, and you're going to browse to where you saved your documents for Word, and you're going to look for the document pet. So, File, and we're going to go to our computer, and I'm going to browse. I already know that it's in this Word 1 folder, but I'm going to go ahead and browse, do it again. I know that I saved it to my Word data files. This is the name of the folder. I'm still in Word 1, and I'm still in the tutorial. You're going to see the letter that you completed earlier, Robin's letter, but this time you're going to open the file named Pet. So they've already started it for you. You need to enable the editing and immediately save it with a new name. You want keep this original file in case you don't like your work or it just didn't come out like you wanted it to come out and you want to do it again. You'll have your original file. So it tells you to save as. So File, Save As. We're going back to the same place, the current folder, and change this to be Pet Flyer. That will leave your pet file intact in case you need to redo the work. And then you begin to do what it asks you for. One of the things it's going to ask you to do is to change this image out and insert the pet poodle, the poodle image, and that image is in that same folder. They tell us to delete this one, and I'm jumping ahead just for, you go to Insert, as you're inserting a photo, and you have Pictures. Now, you want to go back to your Documents folder where you downloaded and saved your Word data files. You're still in Tutorial 1, Word 1, Tutorial 1. If you can't see this poodle photo, then you need to click here and choose All Pictures, and then it will show all pictures. If I choose All Files, it will show all the files that are in that, all the documents that are in that particular folder. There's the poodle, and click Insert, and there's the correct photo. Now, if your version of Word does not have this particular image, but it should because you downloaded this one, but if you're asked to insert a particularly named image file in Word and you have to go out and look for it, you may use another photo. Just document what you have done on the rubric so that I know that you do understand you needed to have a particular file, but you had to use a different one because you're in a different version of Word. And that's it for how to get started. At the end of the white pages, you will find the blue pages for the review and case assignments that are also due with week 2.